Right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth, with Ben Jokes. Nigerian Communications Commission approves 50% tariff hike for telecom operators. This means that phone calls will henceforth cost 18 naira per minute and a gigabyte of data will cost 479 naira. And Mr. Speculator here says Tinubu of Nigeria is squeezing the life out of the masses with more and more taxes while telling them he is working to make life better for them. That is the lie that even the dumbest Nigerian should have unraveled by now. The Tinubu regime is continually making moves that make life harder for Nigerians. But when the repercussions come, they start blaming Peter Obi and others. And not long ago, groups began warning military generals against the allegation they are putting on NGOs in Nigeria. After sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria, APC is now paying ex-military generals to accuse NGOs of aiding terrorism. That is it. The APC will blame everyone except themselves. And few hours ago, a very dramatic update came out of the EFCC regarding the EFCC officer, Assistant Superintendent Aminu Sahabi, who was shot and killed by Joshua Chukwubueze in Anambra State after the officer scaled a fence into Mr. Joshua's compound at around 3 a.m. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to that, tears of pain flowed out of Aso Rock over the biting criticism of the Nigerian government by Kemi Badenoch. APC, Tinubu and his cabinet have tried and tried to hide their pains regarding Kemi's utterances, but the truth is that their pain is real. Before I show you details of the pain of Tinubu and his cabinet and that dramatic script from EFCC, let me quickly show you these videos. Finally, someone speaks up. How does customs generate more revenue than NNPC? Tinubu and his cohorts have completely eaten the NNPC to the point that the Nigerian customs generates more money than it, while leaving our borders and its economic activities to suffer. See this video.
Agencies like the customs, agencies like Nigerian Port Authority should not be the one that we are looking at to generate revenue, to fund our budget. We have mineral resources all over the place. Then what did the NNPC tell us? I mean, maybe I didn't hear, I heard about 2 or 3 trillion. What is this? What is happening to us? This is the job of the National Assembly. They are not oversighted enough. That is the honest truth. How will you say NNPC do 2 trillion and then customs do 12 trillion? How? How did they arrive at that? Then look at
or was it the MPA they were referring to?
No, NNPC. I saw it. I saw the clips. And of course, MPA. MPA is to make sure that our ports are, trade friendly. The facilities are there. The road networks are there. But if you look, I'm saying, look at the issue of port infrastructure. If you are telling the MPA to bring all the money that they should use to make our port friendly so that goods importers will not take their goods to neighboring countries. Like you want all the money.
Yes. Cotonou and all that.
Yes. Togo. So MPA, all the money you generate, bring it. Or generate more money. Nobody. I didn't hear them say, what are you doing for? Because when you say budget defense, all these are supposed to come in, infrastructure. What do you have in your budget that will take care of, for instance, the terrible roads we have in the North Belt, the dilapidating Telecom ports that are about to sink? We have issues of illegal arms infiltration into this country. Our borders are not well secured. And so we also need the customs to police. We also need anti-border aircraft to police the border. So if you are concentrating only on that, what about our security? Because there's no way any arms and ammunition will come into the country, either they come through the ports or they come through the borders. And these are
mostly through the illegal entry points.
You heard that. The mismanagement of our borders is so intense that countries that used to do business with Nigeria are now moving to other countries like Togo, Benin Republic, and all the rest of them. And that's one of the reasons why Benin Republic's currency is far higher than the Naira as we speak. Tinubu has reduced our customs and our ports authority to just generation of revenue. Make una just they collect money they pack can't give me, make I chop. No real development, just impose levies, collect money and bring to me. Buhari began this pattern, now Tinubu has doubled down on it. What a shame. Now let's take this video before we get to the top stories.
Let's head over to the United Kingdom now, where the leader of the country's Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, has yet again denigrated Nigeria, saying that Nigeria destroys lives and that she does not want the consequences of the country's terrible government to play out in Britain. Badenoch spoke last Thursday while delivering her first speech of the year.
I grew up in a poor country, and I watched my relatively wealthy family become poorer and poorer and poorer, despite working harder and harder as their money disappeared with inflation. I came back to the UK, age 16, with my father's last £100 in the hope of a better life. So I have lived with the consequences of terrible governments that destroy lives, and I never, ever want that to happen here.
You heard that. And that has been the most controversial speech in the last 2 days worldwide. Now, no sane foreign investor listening to this woman who has had a first-hand experience with the country will bring his or her money here, especially when they look inward and they find us as a nation still doing those same things. As a matter of fact, doing worse than she described. And look at the number of foreign investors that are already leaving Nigeria with the way things are. So tell me, who is going to come? So all these rhetorics you hear from government every day saying that the Saudi leader is coming, this and that are coming, it is not true. They know these things. And the words of Kemi Badenoch will further warn off these foreign investors from this country. And we are not saying this because we don't like Nigeria. We are not saying this because we detest our country. We are saying this because we will never achieve anything cutting corners. We will never achieve anything thriving in corruption like this. What we need to do is to jettison our old dirty ways of doing things so that this country can begin to progress. And that video takes me to the top stories. Aso Rock has been in tears since Kemi Badenoch dropped that video, and they sent out their spokesperson to cry out their pain on air. And of course, there is that update regarding that drama script from the EFCC, the story of the event that took place in Anambra State between that EFCC officer and Joshua Ikechukwu is now being handed to us in a different light by the EFCC. Let's start by taking that update from the EFCC. Look at how the papers reported it. EFCC condemns online support for medical doctor who killed operative in Anambra, insists shooter involved in internet fraud. Sahara reporters. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has expressed deep sorrow over the tragic loss of one of its officers, Assistant Superintendent Aminu Sahabi Salisu, who was fatally attacked while on duty on January 17, 2025. The suspect in the incident is identified as Joshua Chukwubueze Ikechukwu, an alleged internet fraudster. The commission said it views with great concern the irresponsible, callous, inhuman, and outrageous narratives being circulated on social media on the whys and wherefores of the fatal accident. It is heinous to reduce the death of a gallant officer who was carrying out patriotic and official duties to social media razzmatazz, it added. According to the EFCC in a statement issued by its head of media and publicity, Dele Oyewale, on Sunday, there is no justification whatsoever to rationalize a murderous act. Sahara reporters reported on Saturday that earlier in the day, the Anambra State Police Command arrested the suspect who attacked EFCC operatives and shot Halisu Sahabi during a raid in Awka, the state capital. The suspect was identified as a medical doctor, Chukwu Josiah Ikechukwu Nnamdi, who hails from Ifite in Anambra State. In his statement on Sunday, the EFCC said the milk of human kindness demands that a grieving family, commission, and nation should be spared the shenanigans of false narratives and conjectures on the death of the slain officer. Giving its account on the incident, the agency said Salisu, alongside other investigators of the EFCC, were at Dr. J.O. Ukwutinife Close, Ifite, Oka, Anambra State, to arrest some suspected internet fraudsters in the early hours of January 17. The operation was duly documented at the Anambra State Command Headquarters and Area Command of the Nigerian Police in line with operational protocols. The operation was initially smooth sailing, with 37 suspected internet fraudsters already arrested at a two-story building housing Ikechukwu and other occupants of the house. However, Ikechukwu, who cited the investigators through a CCTV camera mounted at his doorpost and who also confessed citing them, declined to open his door for the investigators, who politely demanded entrance to his apartment. Defying all the introduction and physical sighting of the investigators, he resorted to firing shots at them and killed Salisu in the process and wounded another officer detailed to conduct a search in his apartment. At that, now these dimensions to the story are new. I'm not saying that it is entirely false, but there is a very, very high possibility that the story has been modified. Them saying that the operation by the late officer assistant superintendent Aminu Sahabi was properly documented by the police at Anambra State there, it could be true and it could also not be true. It could be a makeshift move to indict Mr. Chukwu Bueze. But one thing is sure, and this is even the major issue: why must it be in the night? Why can't it just be during the day? Why is the EFCC moving? Why are they moving like criminals? And to cap it all, the EFCC itself issued a public statement on the 1st of November 2023 banning this kind of operation that the late officer and his team carried out. You can't scale the fence into a man's house at 3 a.m., whatever means you used to get into their compound, and then you began raiding. You yourself came out to say that is right there on your screen. You can read it. They banned this kind of operations. So what are you trying to tell me? When did you resume operating like this again that you didn't tell the public? So we are just going to keep our fingers crossed and see how this matter unfolds. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to this fresh update on the issue, that cry from Aso Rock through Tinubu's spokesperson began making the rounds. Look at how the papers reported it. We are sad. Kemi Badenoch is pushing terrible rhetoric against Nigeria, Tinubu's aide. The administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu has criticized UK Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch for her recent remarks likening governance issues in Nigeria to potential risk facing the United Kingdom. Badenoch made the comments during her first speech of the year at an event organized by Onward, a British think tank, where she warned of the risk of ineffective governance in the UK. She cited Nigeria as an example, drawing a parallel to underscore the need to build public trust and position the Conservative Party as the solution to Britain's challenges. However, the special advisor to Tinubu on policy communications, Daniel Buala, during an interview on Channels Television Sunrise Daily program on Monday, stated that former British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is Indian-born and doesn't denigrate his origin, but Kemi Badenoch denigrates Nigeria. Buala accused Badenoch of denigrating Nigeria to gain political advantage in the UK. He dismissed the relevance of Badenoch's remarks to Nigeria's international relations or its efforts to attract investors. He argued that her statements would not affect Nigeria as she is not the head of government in the UK. Buala, who acknowledged Badenoch's achievements in the UK, argued that she is capitalizing on populism that thrives on public discontent. He said, I don't think it will have an effect because she is not the government in power. Usually, these international relationships or collaborations are dealings between governments. Because she is not the government in power, it will not have any effect. Secondly, because she is a Nigerian, investors will be smart enough to assess what she's saying, whether it is born out of rhetoric. The only problem we have with Kemi, I think, is the rhetoric, because Kemi belongs to the right base in the United Kingdom, which is what you see in this populism around the world, that you can deepen your support system if you can feed off the anger of the people, Buala said. And so she's building a rhetoric of denigrating Nigeria, demarketing Nigeria, so she can probably win the acceptance or acceptation of the rights in her party. And that to me is counterproductive, because if you look at Rishi Sunak, he is also of Indian origin. There has been this issue of gang rape in India. He has never used that as a weapon to promote what he believed to be a departure from what is likely to be believed as hereditary or history of the Indian people. But she has always denigrated Nigeria. Now they always reference this Rishi Sunak. The issue here is that what is happening in India is that the government is even trying to fight the problems of India. But Nigeria's own is different. The government itself is the problem here. That is the issue here. And of course, saying that what Kemi Badenoch is saying would not affect investors coming to Nigeria is just being, pretentious, or just being stupidly naive. Everybody with a brain knows that this is first-hand confession from a highly placed woman. Investors know that everything she's saying is true, and when they look inwards, they can still see those things still prevalent in Nigeria. So how about the investors that we have here that are already living? What is that going to communicate to all these investors that people are trying to deceive to come? Look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take a few tweet reactions. This tweet here by Omo Iya Teacher says, is Nigerian heritage defined as seeing white and calling it black? In contrast to Kemi Badenoch, who had to travel to the UK at the age of 16 with her family's last £100 in savings in the hopes of a better future, former UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was born in the UK and never lived in India. Rather than denigrating Nigeria, Kemi Badenoch has been highlighting the country's realities and emphasizing its opinions based on personal experience. That is the big difference. Rishi Sunak was born in the UK, he was raised there. He doesn't have first-hand experience of the things going on in his country of origin, which is India. But Kemi saw everything here. She saw the effects, the negative impact of bad governance. And there is nothing you can say as, a person living in the UK that you understand what you did not feel. This lady has felt it. Her family was getting poorer and poorer because of the useless government that we have here. And that is what she's trying to say, because many countries of the world are tending towards that region. Donald Trump was inaugurated today, and that was what he kept on saying. Trying to save America, that America is declining. But Nigeria is already living inside decline, inside the abyss. Yet, when somebody calls it out, instead of everybody to join hands and say, how do we pull it out? Some idiots will be coming out to try to say she's denigrating Nigeria. And Abayomi here says, do what is right and leave her alone. That is it. And this tweet here says, too much backlash when someone says the truth. She's saying the hard truth. The people at the top don't want to acknowledge. You can literally die in Nigeria and no real investigation will be carried out except if the killer is caught by citizens. That is how bad Nigeria is. And it can only get worse under the APC. And that is why we keep telling Nigerians that if we desire to still have a country at all in the near future, then we must come together, put our sentiments aside, and get the APC out of power. But until then, make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una. Now I dey here, so don't go away.